Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from dcx.to, and welcome to our mostly every Wednesday show for Ask Me Anything. Sometimes we have Dr. Nick here, but he is not here this week. We have a different special guest who will join in just a moment. And I just want to remind everybody to please join our community at dcx.to. All of the links are there. We have a free Discord that's active and growing. We have a Patreon. I'm on Blue Sky for whatever that's worth right now. Oh, you couldn't watch any streams. Okay, I don't know what happened, but thank you, Ana Lucia. Good to see you. And so what I'm going to do now, and of course, if you have a question, you can ask it in the chat. It'll come up here. So it might have your name on it. That's up to you if you want to openly ask your question. If you would like to be more anonymous, you can just use the URL above my head. Just go to dcx.to/Q, and that will come into my email. So I'm going to open up my email and watch for any anonymous questions, and that way I can copy and paste them on the screen. And for now, let's bring in our special guest. Can anybody guess who it is? Well, it was on the thing, so you can't guess. Let's roll her in. Hey.
Hi.
Yeah, this is our microphone. Yes, we have to share this microphone. Let me know if we're not loud enough. Everybody, this is Melanie Levy. You might know her from various things. Hello, from Ana Lucia. Been a wonderful part of our community for years. Yesterday in Gaming says hello. And she is visiting me for, shall we say, an extended period of time. So I thought, why not have her on the show at least once? So today you ask a question, you get 2 answers completely for free. It's a bargain. Melanie, anything you want to tell everybody about your background and what you can answer questions about?
Well, I am an old school UXer. I started back in 1994 as a web designer. Worked my way up, started, I think my first official title as information architect was probably around the late 90s, maybe 2000. Information architect, UX designer, senior UX designer. I've been an IC pretty much my entire career. So yeah, that's me. Here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so I've turned our volume up a little bit. I imagined it was Melanie, actually. Well, it did say it on the thing. So we are crammed together behind my desk just for all of you. And yes, and she also gets the benefit of my camera filter. Though she looks this great in real life, let me tell you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So we are here if you have any questions. If not, we'll hang around a few minutes, and if not, we'll just play a fiery song and say goodbye. But if you have a question, let us know, or if there's something you want to ask Melanie, like which of Debbie's dogs is the best.
Oh, don't make me answer that.
No, I know. So sometimes we have questions and sometimes we don't. So we'll have to come up with a topic. But we have humans here. And let's see, I can check if this is live on LinkedIn, which sometimes is broken and doesn't show up. Yeah, I'm not seeing live on LinkedIn right now. So that could be broken. Let's take a quick look. Where are we live? I might need to fix this. Nope, says we should be live on Twitch, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We've got a few people watching on YouTube. We've got 5 on Twitch, and I don't get to find out how many are on LinkedIn. So if LinkedIn didn't tell everybody, that's just LinkedIn being LinkedIn.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Okay, so it looks like LinkedIn didn't notify anybody we're live. So there you go. Okay, we've got questions. Okay, let's start with Ana Lucia. Let's see, and this is something maybe we can both answer. Let's put it up on the screen.
You're heavier on the research side than I am.
That's okay. You can also have
But
an
I can chime in.
You
and
can
never
have an
stop
opinion.
me before.
Well, the downside is the question goes over your face, so I'm not going to put questions.
You
up
can put a question over my face. I don't mind.
No,
It's
that's not nice. Okay, so let's just at least paste it into here, so it'll be part of the YouTube description. Ana Lucia asks, do you follow any particular structure for research decks? How do you decide what to include or not other than deliverables? Anything you want to say about research decks?
I think it just kind of, it sort of depends on the project and depends on the type of research I'm doing.
Hi.
Hey, Karen!
How are you? I miss you.
I will let you handle this. I'll handle yesterday
hi,
in gaming.
Malika. Okay, so I'll take this one, and then Melanie can certainly take the next one. So for research decks, I do tend to have a bit of a structure. The first slide or two is going to just be the foundational information of the research study. So just a slide or two reminding everybody what are we doing and why, and who in general were the participants. Sometimes I'll write a little bit about the methods, but just a couple of slides on that, because people can always refer back to the research plan if you've given them access to it. Then I do executive summary, and that's the old, if these are the only slides or pages that people saw and they didn't bother looking at the rest, what are the key things they need to know? So these are going to be some of your key insights and some of your key suggestions or areas for improvement. And then from there, I start getting into more of the detailed data. So I'm working on a report right now for a freelance project I've been doing. We did evaluative interviews, and we did we did generative interviews, and then we did some concept testing that were basically evaluative interviews. So I'm kind of, in the rest of the deck, I'm kind of working my way through what did we learn from the generative interviews, what did we learn about people's processes and where this works and where this doesn't, and the opportunities. And then when it came to the concept testing, what did they like, what didn't work for them. I have little maps of each person's process based on what I learned in generative. So from there, it's really just details. When I worked at ASU a year or so ago, because we had such clear research questions in our plan, that's the way we structured our deck. So after the executive summary, we would have a slide with a question at the top, and then we would have our key answers, both from in this as insights and as with a suggestion or more than one suggestion. So that was the way I normally structure the deck. And then sometimes if there's really a lot of data, and then sometimes quotes to drive some of this home. And if there's a lot of data, I'll sometimes make an appendix and here's some more stuff, so that, because nobody wants the 100-slide deck, but sometimes the clients care about the first 20 or 30 slides, and then you can treat the rest of it like, hey, if you really want to go deep, here's some more stuff. So I hope that helps. Let's look at yesterday in gaming's question, who says, Melanie, since you've worked in so many different capacities, what's your favorite overall title for the work you've done and why? And then we have more questions coming.
Well, it's varied over the time that I've spent in the industry. I would say right now, my favorite title for what I do is UX strategist, because I'm
I want that too.
Yeah, I am totally heavy on the strategy now. I am not what is considered to be a traditional designer. I am not a Figma head. I can use it, but that's not my forte. My forte is problem solving and trying to help people strategize around things they can do to make money for the business while still satisfying customers. I mean, that's it. So that would be my ideal title right now. Earlier on in my career, I really, really enjoyed, and I still do to this day, interaction design. I love figuring out how things work and what the experience is going to be, and how somebody moves through an experience, whether that's digital or physical. I mean, that's a love that I will never lose.
sorry, I'm trying to tell someone I'm live on YouTube and we'll have to answer later. We'll answer later. Okay. So, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
And then follow-up question from yesterday in gaming. Don't forget that today is Ask Us Anything. You can ask in the chat, or you can ask at dcx.to/Q if you have something long or anonymous for us. So yesterday in gaming also asked, and it sounds like it's for both of us, what's been the most surprising shift or evolution in the field that you didn't see coming early in your career?
Yeah, I'll say this. Early in my career, we were all generalists. And you have to remember this was back in the mid-90s when nobody really knew anything about the web. So we all did a little bit of everything. But as the technology and as the field and as the industry progressed, everything became more specialized. You had front-end people that were separated from designers. Back-end people, developers, were starting to break into front-end and back-end developers. The markup languages had changed, so you had some specialization there. It wasn't just HTML, it was CSS. I know this is like old school dinosaur stuff here, so like bear with me. But as it's funny because as the industry has progressed, everything has become more specialized, whether it's digital technologies, right? Everything was websites, right? And then we moved to mobile and, all kinds of different types of physical interfaces. And so there was a lot of specialization, and I find it really interesting. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like everything, it's like almost coming full circle now. Like generalists are kind of what, at least in our field, generalists are at least from what I hear, are more desirable now than specialists, which I find interesting because when you look at the engineering side of things, it seems like there's more specialists on that side, although it's trending towards generalists now too, especially when it comes to front end. I don't know.
Well, the problem is you can say it's trending towards generalists, but is it trending toward quality? Because we can say we want the person who does research and interaction design and visual design and branding and front-end coding, but how do they have the time to do any of that well? Oh, hello. I'm happy you're here. I think that's Andrea, who I always pronounce Italianly.
I would definitely agree with you there. Like, just because I say things are trending towards generalists, it's really due to businesses wanting to squeeze as much as they can out of one person with complete disregard for quality. They don't care. They don't. Can I curse on here?
You can curse on here. I'm not monetized.
They don't give a shit. Yeah. They absolutely do not give one shit about quality.
Well, as Anna Lucia just said, they want unicorns and they want to pay them peanuts.
Yeah.
So
that's it. Yeah. The phrase I usually hear is, we need to do more with less. Yeah.
Which has never actually happened. Can you think of a time in your life when you did more with less? Can you think? You have a friend.
Hi.
Sorry, my dogs love Melanie. Yeah. Oh, and I noticed that happening with developers as well. I know one company forced their iOS and Android developers to learn React Native and switch to cross-platform. I've seen that too.
Yeah.
And also as an Android user, I can tell you every time I see an app that was clearly made by an iOS designer that was just ported to Android because it doesn't have a lot of the typical Les is here, more with less.
Hey!
Yes. No, more with Les. Thank you. Hold on. Where's my sound effects?
Yeah, where's your rim shot?
I'm not ready. Hold on. I'm not ready. Do I still have my sound effects? No, I only, okay, I have this one. It's playing applause right now. Thank you. More with Les, everybody. Yeah, so it's obviously tough out there. But to go back to the original question, Yesterday in Gaming asked, "What's the most surprising shift or evolution in the field that you didn't see coming early in your career?" I think what I didn't see coming was that graphic designers would try to steal my job and get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, I always figured
Yeah.
what I do looks nothing like graphic design. I'm not a graphic designer. I'm kind of that more traditional UX and interaction designer and information architect. And when the graphic and visual and brand designers in the like 2010s started saying, "No, I'm a UX designer too," I figured,
Yeah.
they're not going to get that job. People can tell the difference between visual design and what I do, and ultimately a lot of people couldn't. And see, more with Les, says Ari. Everyone's here, the ganze Mishpucha. And so that was something that surprised me, but I think we continue. It's a recurring story, because then we have the surprise of, it's not exactly leopards eating faces, but it's kind of the story of, well, gee, I didn't think the product managers would do my job, or gee, I didn't think AI could do my job. It's doing it badly. And then it's like, no, but we think the product managers do your job just fine. And I go, well, define fine.
Right.
Or, I think I'm continually disappointed and slightly surprised that we as a kind of a UX industry, haven't fought off the fake UX as well as we could have. And I think it's because we tend to be nice people and we tend to be like, yes, just say yes.
Well, I also think that there were efforts like with the UX Guild and with some of these organizations to kind of standardize what we do in a way. But like with graphic design, there's this clear pathway of evolution of your career, and the same thing in engineering, whereas UX was always seen as, what is it that you do again, and why do we need you? And I guess something that I didn't expect at the beginning of my career, it was early on, the technology was still new, what we did was new. Nobody, it was understandable, nobody really knew where we fit. But this has been going now for 25, 30 years now, and people still don't know.
It's still messy.
It's
right.
still messy. There are still no standards. It's like, do whatever the hell you want to do.
It's always so bizarre when it's like, I would say you opened a job, you interviewed people, you selected someone, and then you treat them like you're not sure why they're there.
Yeah.
well,
why did you hire
a bizarre
me?
progression. Yeah, that's a bizarre progression. How did that happen? So just a reminder, this is our Wednesday show. Ask me anything. You can ask anything. You can ask it in the chat. It'll pop up here in front of me. Or you can ask it anonymously up in the corner at dcx.to/Q. It'll come into my email, and I'll copy it and paste it. Ana Lucia says, my background is in occupational therapy. The what is it that you do has been my life since then. Yeah. We've got a question from Karen, only one of our favorite, or at least one of my favorite people. No offense to anybody else here. I've got to admit it. All right, let me just paste it so it'll show up in you can't see what I'm doing. Melanie can see what I'm doing. I'm juggling a million things at the same time.
I get to see how the sausage is made.
Yes, exactly. So much sausage. So Karen had asked, if you had to compare two websites or products side by side with 1 hour and a $10 budget, how would you evaluate which one is better? I got this question in a recent interview. I know better is vague and needs clarification and metrics to evaluate towards. That is funky. Well, look, Karen, I'm glad you're getting interviews,
Wow.
so let's just start there, because everyone should be hiring Karen. What a great strategic mind.
Yes.
And I say that from working with him, not just from his questions showing up here. 1 hour and $10. So I think I would want to take the perspective of how well does it work for the target audience? Because I think there are times that we as UX professionals look at something and we say, holy cats, what are you doing here? This is a mess. And then someone says, but it works for people. And I always say, well, define works. But I think my question would be, trying to figure out how well something works for people. Let me give you an example. Some of you already know this story. I think it was in one of my books. I think it was in Customers Know You Suck? Everybody who's read it will tell me if this story is already in there. Do you remember the story of the company who... a Fortune 1, Fortune, a company I shouldn't name, had hired a friend of mine's company to do marketing because they were very unhappy with the conversion on their site. They weren't getting the signups in the business that they wanted. And I've told this one before. Listen anyway.
I'll listen.
Listen anyway. And the marketing team was doing a great job bringing more visits to the site, but then the conversions still weren't there. And she said, talk to my friend Debbie. She's looking at CX and UX. She's going to have a different perspective on this. I can bring people to the site, but I can't necessarily make them convert if there's something wrong with the site. So, and I heard, the CEO's unhappy with the site and the CEO doesn't like this. And I'm thinking, all right, the pressure's on. And they said to me, before we hire you, we want you to prove your value. Tell us 3 things. Take a look at the site quickly and tell us 3 things we should change. And I think I spent an hour or less on this, and certainly less than $10. I spent 0. And I just moved around the site and I said, well, I definitely see a few problems here. Number 1, your navigation doesn't make sense. It's not easy to move around this site and find out the information people probably need to know to fall in love with your product or understand how you compete against others and to choose you. Number 2, I can tell that different parts of your website were done at different times by different teams of people. Your website's incredibly inconsistent, and there are pages that look nothing like each other. And considering you're like a Fortune 10, this looks incredibly disorganized and unprofessional, and I think could probably turn some people off, given that, an annual subscription was like $12,000 a person or something, and this is something entire enterprises buy for their teams. I said, third, your website's not written well. You're trying to target developers, but this is written for not developers. So who is this written for and why? I can probably imagine it doesn't always convert well because it's not speaking their language and it's not answering their questions. I said, but I'm going to give you a bonus 4th. I said, I decided while I was on your site, I was going to try to buy your services. And when you remember this one? Yeah, sorry. I'm going to try to buy your services. And so I put some of your licenses or whatever into my cart and I clicked checkout. And what came up next was, do you remember the story?
I don't remember what came up next.
A blank page. And what happened was, someone, and I know some of you will understand tech enough to get this, but someone had put the credit card part of the checkout in an iframe. Who remembers iframes?
I remember iframes.
Okay, someone had put, because this was pre-pandemic, someone had put the credit card part of the checkout in an iframe, and my browser had blocked it as suspicious because the credit card part of the checkout should just be on the page. There's no reason for it to be in an iframe, but because it was in an iframe, it was seen as suspicious, if not completely off the charts wacky. And so my browser blocked it. And I said, awesome. This could be, just throwing some things out there. This could be why you're not getting as many signups and conversions as you'd like, because I can't even put my credit card in right now. It's not even coming up for me. It's being blocked as suspicious. And that means not only did someone there do this, because the internal marketing team was responsible for this part of the site, not only did someone there do this, but you never tested it. You never tested it in Chrome, or you never tested it in a browser with an ad blocker, which is so common. And so that, to me, that is a story of something you can do in an hour. You can do the old cognitive walkthrough. You can pretend you are a potential customer and take a look at the website and say, is this compelling? Is this meaningful? Can I take the action I need to take? Do I understand why I'd want to do business with this company? Do I understand their value proposition? Do I understand how to check out? Yeah, Ana Lucia says they didn't have QA. That was my question. I said, the marketing department built this website. Did nobody test it? Did nobody pretend to buy the thing and go to the credit card page and find that you couldn't even buy the thing? Did nobody do that with browsers or from a phone or from a browser with an ad blocker, etc.? So
I actually have a response directly related to what Karen is asking.
please.
So the interview question was, if you had to compare two websites or products side by side with 1 hour and $10
comparing
budget,
two.
how would you evaluate which one is better? The first question I would ask is, what is your definition of better?
Yeah,
Because
Karen said better is vague and needs clarification and metrics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they can't tell you what better means, how are you going to be able to evaluate it to determine which one is better? It's just, and if they can't give me an answer, I would probably say, okay, well then what I will do is I'll go over this heuristically and I can go through it and, do kind of what you were just talking about.
The cognitive walkthrough.
Cognitive walkthrough, usability, can I, what is the most important thing that you're trying to achieve here? Is it a sales funnel? Am I trying to, buy something?
Yeah, here's
and then
what-
you evaluate that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Karen says, I wanted to check if I missed my instincts, such as using an extension to evaluate accessibility, conducting quick and dirty tests to understand the critical task completion rate, not from the target audience, but perhaps someone working in the company, and possibly include an expert review for critical tasks. Yeah, I mean, to me, which website is better is the website that better caters to human needs, because when you cater well to the customers and users, you're more likely to achieve your business goals. If you just say, well, the best website is the one that meets the business goals, if it's the middle finger to the user or something like that, then congratulations on being more, you might go for a short-term win, but it might be a long-term loss when your customer realizes they're getting the middle finger. So
Same thing if your definition of better is the one that looks nicer.
oh, right.
Like it may look nice, but if it's unusable or if it's a terrible experience, or like what happened to you, if you go to checkout and you get a blank page, who cares how good it looks?
Right.
You can't complete the task. So what does it matter?
Yeah. Oh, one thing I used to do with clients who would come to me to fix or rebuild or redo parts of their website is I would guess who at the company made the current website I was looking at, and I've never been wrong. Like I remember one time I was like, a newbie graphic designer made this site, and they were like, how did you know? And then another time I was like, the CEO made this website, and they were like, how did you know? And I was like, a bunch of developers made this website. How did you know?
Yeah, there are signs.
There are signs, and so that is the oops. So how would I compare to? Yeah, Karen, I think you're on the right track. I think I would take a look at critical task, a critical path. What's the critical path that is likely to hit a North Star metric for the company? Well, or a conversion rate. So let's walk through that on the website and see what does it look like to try to understand this product, the value proposition, the cost of it, and can I convert, or is it difficult to understand? Is it messy? Do I have to stop and talk to a salesperson, which some companies do, and some companies are realizing puts up more of a blocker than being a help?
So what we haven't addressed is the whole $10 thing.
Yeah, why $10?
So what they're saying is, we want you to be able to do this on the cheap. We don't have any money to put towards research.
Right,
so
you can't talk to
pay
users.
for participants. But there are ways that you can get around that. So depending on the product and depending on what the topic is, or what the product is, or what they're trying to achieve, you could potentially go ask people who are subject matter experts to But again, it really depends on what on what better is. What do they mean by better? If you can't define that, then you're just going to have to default to what we're talking about, is just doing your best and picking a task. But does that really meet the needs of the business? If they can't tell you what better means, that's not in their best interest either, because you're just going to be stabbing in the dark.
Yes. And scene. So yeah, hold on. We have my.
And scene.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't forget, everybody, this is Ask Me Anything. You can ask us anything by putting it in the chat. It'll come up on the screen, or by going to dcx.to/q. That'll come into my email, and I can see if anybody is asking questions. I don't see anything in my email right now, nothing in junk. So yeah, send in your questions. All questions welcome.
Karin, we were just talking about you the other day, by the way.
Yes, we were thinking of you, and I was like, I should message him. And then I was like, no, he's got a mom. I don't want to hover over him and be like, how are you now?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
You never call.
Right. Isn't it funny how it immediately turns into like the New York mom character?
It does, totally.
Yeah, so that's a problem. We're old enough to be these people's moms.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, well. I know. If you're lucky, you get older. That's all I can tell you.
Right.
All right. We don't have any other questions, but these are good ones. Yeah. Otherwise, if people don't have burning questions, we can always wrap up for today. But also, I think I want to mention a little bit, because this keeps coming up, and I feel like we just talked about this. Oh, Yesterday in Gaming is back. Let's see. Have any unconventional fields or interests outside of UX had a surprising impact on the way you approach your work?
Unconventional fields or interests.
Yeah, I think I can answer that. Are you, if you're still thinking? Okay.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I always like to say, I mean, I'm a musician, probably first and foremost. And so I think that music and my work in the music business and some of my music experience plays into some of what I'm doing now. For example, people say, what's your leadership style? And I say, my leadership style is play to my audience. And that's a very music term. You know, the idea is if I'm singing karaoke and the audience is a certain group of people, I want to sing a song that I hope they'll like. It doesn't make sense to sing a song that they're likely to hate. And so I've got to play to my audience, which means I have to adjust what I'm doing and kind of meet everybody where they are and try to meet their needs, rather than always being the same person for everybody. Yes, I'm always the same person. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. But I have to adjust what I'm doing or how I'm doing it for everybody. And I think of that as a play to your audience kind of music performance thing, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm trying to think. The only thing that I can think of is that in a weird, ironic way, what I did in college actually prepared me for the job I do today. So this didn't exist when I was in college. I'm that old. So, we were writing on stone tablets. You know how it is. But I was a comparative literature and and French double major, basically. So it was art history, literature, and foreign language. And I found that as I was going through it, I could see patterns in things for whatever classes that I was taking, and I would connect the dots, and it would help me sort of see relationships between things. Mm-hmm. And that I kind of carried over into what is now UX, but what was then information architecture, because with the language, knowing different languages helped with internationalization whenever that sort of became a thing. And it also let me see relationships between concepts and really how to organize information. It just sort of comes innately to me. So I don't know if that's unconventional or not, but that really did have an effect on how I do my work.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel like I have multiple answers to this, but I'm not sure they're going to help anybody. Like, I also think about how I was given a tape recorder in 1976 when I was 4, and I went around interviewing everybody, and I wanted to learn more about their habits, and I was just interviewing everybody, and then here I am today interviewing everybody. So I think that there's a connection here.
The music thing is really interesting, though. I'm always fascinated by people with musical abilities and how it affects, like, thinking and processing of information.
Yeah, there's always a connection there. Hey, we are getting an anonymous question.
Hooray. Oh, good one.
That is a great question, anonymous person. And I can't put it up on the screen or it will cover Melanie's face. So we will read it to you. It says, have you ever faced ethical dilemmas in UX, and how did you navigate them?
That is a great question.
Yeah. I've tried very hard to only take jobs at companies that I found to be mostly ethical. For example, I worked a couple of years at Macy's, which is an American department store. There wasn't too much stuff they were doing that I thought was unethical. My last job was Arizona State University, which really had to cater to its students and faculty, and I didn't see anything unethical happening there. I haven't worked at companies that are famously unethical or famously crossing some lines. I haven't worked for controversial industries like oil, gas, gambling, politics. So I think I've had it pretty easy, and I'm going to try to keep thinking about any examples, but I can't think about big ethics breaches. The only thing I can think of is companies who knew that some of their leadership were abusive, toxic, the reason that things were failing, the reason why people were quitting, and promoted those people. That I found unethical, but I can't think of being on an unethical project.
I can't think. I mean, the only unethical projects that I've been involved with have been where companies insist on, like, doing deceptive patterns.
Oh, sure. Yeah, deceptive design.
And so how do you navigate that? I mean, you just have to explain why that's a bad idea in terms that business can understand. Document your case, that you made the case if they decide to go ahead with this terrible pattern, and know that you didn't accept it. Like, this is not something that I accept, and this is not something that I condone. If they continue to do that, I would say, I mean, it sucks because the market is so bad now.
Oh, wait, I just thought of examples.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
But I've also worked for health,
healthcare.
Healthcare. So healthcare was interesting.
Healthcare in America.
Yes, healthcare in America.
FTC would like to have a word with you.
That's interesting because you are often hamstrung by legal departments, by what you can say and what you can't say. Ethically, I guess I would say, I mean, technically it's under the law. It's like legal and stuff, but I always had some issues around how modern drugs are marketed to consumers.
Yes.
But there's really, I mean, me as a person, there's really not a whole lot I could do. I will say that I went into that agency work eyes wide open, thinking, you've heard this before, oh, but I can change it from the inside.
So rare. So rare. You really have to be hired and given that authority, autonomy, empowerment to make those changes. Otherwise, I think that's in one of my books where I talk about how we come into a lot of these jobs and we think we can change it, we can make it better. We've had people in our community who went to work for Facebook and really thought that they'd be able to change Facebook from the inside. Yeah. And it's like, hey, Facebook doesn't want to change. Facebook thinks they're just fine just the way they are. And if you thought they need changing, surprise, surprise, surprise. So Yeah, so that's a tough one, but I can think of an example on the light side of yeah. How do you even fight those big egos?
100%.
Sure, it's very hard, and especially if we're a worker bee and the big egos are often in the leadership positions, we're just stuck. But I can think of a couple of conversations I had at jobs many years ago. I won't say who, but I remember. I was doing interaction design on a new feature, and the product manager came to me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm designing the new feature." And he said, "Why don't you just go rip off what Apple is doing? I'm sure Apple is doing this well, and why should we reinvent a wheel?" And this was an extremely famous company the entire world would know. And I said, "Do you want to be Monday's TechCrunch headline?" I said, do you want the TechCrunch headline of Company X rips off Apple because they couldn't come up with an idea themselves? Are you comfortable with that? And this was a guy who would push me. And then the funny thing was my boss would go take this guy into a room and yell at him. And my boss would come back and be like, "You don't have to do what he says." And man, I loved that boss. One of the best ones I've had out there, and I've had a few good ones, so I've been lucky. But I also had that at a couple of other companies where they would be like, "Oh, hey, we don't have to do it like this. Just rip off this company, rip off that company. Just I'm sure eBay's doing it well. Just do what eBay's doing." And I would always say, "We're publicly traded. We're publicly traded. They write about us constantly. They're writing about us negatively. Do you want to give them another reason to write a crappy article on how bad we are? Like, why would you give them the ammunition to say we look ridiculous and that we're a Fortune 200 and we can't even come up with a good idea?" So, I've been able to talk some people at the team level out of some bad ideas and some let's just rip the other guy off by reminding them that this would not go unnoticed.
I will say this though, when it comes to ethical issues, you really have to tread carefully around that because you do have options. If it's an egregious ethical breach, I would suggest
you need a lawyer.
You need a lawyer. You need to leave the company. You do have that power to just go, even though, if you have to stay for financial reasons or whatever, you may just have to, I hate to say this because it's terrible, but you got to live. Otherwise, you may find that there are ways to find your allies and talk with your allies and see if you can, build some momentum and some, I don't know how to, to try to fight
some
it.
Support.
And some support to try to either deal with it or fight it in some way. But as a person of one, unless you're a very senior position with, ties with leadership, you're really not going to be able to get a lot done by yourself. You can scream and yell and all that's going to do is just, either people will just ignore you or you'll get on their shit list. So, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think that we even talked in the last stream about when we talked about authentic self, we talked about to me, the smartest authentic self is the person who reads the room and says, "Today I'm going to say something," or I read the room and I go, "I'm not going to say something for my own safety or sanity or whatever." To me, that's your best authentic self is the self that puts you first. Right. I think about a conflict I had at a job a few years ago where I sat down with the program manager, who some of you may or may not know is the kind of like the project manager of project managers. So someone with a higher level thing. And they sat down at the table. I think I was working there 2 weeks, and they said to me, "You're going to research this stuff and you're going to recommend changes, and I might not let any of those changes go through." And I decided that I was going to be my most authentic self. And I said, then I'm going to document that we know that aspects of this system don't work well for our target users, and you decided to block that improvement. I'm going to put your name on it. And if it causes a problem later, we can all look at you because you will have made that decision. So if you want to block that, I probably can't stop you, but I'm going to document it and put your name all over it. And he quit a few months later. Good. He never got that far because I went to someone else and I said, so-and-so is telling me they're gonna block the changes I recommend for the product. And they said, he doesn't have that authority. And I said, well, someone needs to tell him that. He thinks he does. We have a question. Have you ever dealt with burnout? What helped you recover?
Oh, well, this is a topic near and dear to my heart.
Is this why you're here at my house, Melanie?
In fact, this is one of the reasons why I am here. So let me tell you about burnout.
Here, pull on up into the microphone. I'll slide over here.
Come here, kids. Let me tell you a story about burnout. I burned out. I've burned out a few times in my career. The first time was... let me think. Around 2001. But of course, that was the dot-com crash, so everybody had pretty much lost their jobs. I basically just took whatever jobs I could get during that time. Ended up getting back into it around 2007. I was refreshed. I was ready to go. And I did that for about... let's see, that was 7, so 14, 15, 16. In 2017, I burned out bad. And I had taken a job that ended up being kind of a bait and switch. I worked with terrible micromanaging, project manager, product manager, whatever the hell you want to call it. And it was just a bad experience. So I burned out, and I quit. And I was fortunate in that I don't have any children. It's just me. I don't have, I'm single. So
we'll see if we can find you somebody.
No, that's okay. Yeah. My God, my mother would be so proud. But I had saved up money knowing that I was going to take time. So I took time off. I took a year off, ended up being more like 2 years before I found work again. What was the rest of the question? I'm going off on a tangent here.
Oh, yeah, sorry. This was, have you ever experienced burnout? And I think, how did you recover?
How did I recover? It's taken me a while to recover. I just had to take time away. That year that I took a sabbatical, I traveled around. I not extravagantly. I took lots of road trips. I visited friends. I stayed away from the industry as much as possible, and just tried to reconnect with people. The second time I burned out, I wouldn't. After I came back from that one, I was ready to go. I was like, yes, I'm ready to go find work again. And all of a sudden, no jobs to be, there were jobs, but I was having problems getting hired. Ended up deciding I was going to pivot to research. So you had to go into therapy. Yeah, I did therapy too. I did for a year. Did it help? Yes and no, sorta. I probably didn't have the best therapist, but it took a good long time for me to get back into it, and I had to really reconnect with what I loved about what I did. And I think I actually had to pivot. Well, I decided I was going to pivot into UX research after being on the design side of things forever, because I felt like, to be honest, that was going to be more age friendly. So I had done UX research in some form or fashion throughout my entire career, but I felt like I really needed to just beef up on this and see if I can make this work. And yeah, now we're here, and you're seeing how that works. Did I burn out again? I didn't burn out so much, I think, as the industry has just shifted. And now I'm at the point in my life and my career where I'm trying to figure out what's next. And to be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out. I don't know. I would still love to do what I do. I mean, I have a passion for it. I love being strategic, and I love solving people's problems and businesses' problems and trying to figure out how to make businesses money while still providing this stellar experience for people who use products. I mean, that's my love. So, yeah. Anyway, I just took time away, and I just tried to focus on other things that made me happy. And you really have to think about, you really have to try to reconnect with what it is that you really love about your role, or about the industry and about what you do, and focus on trying to find those little nuggets and those things that try to find places that will allow you to do those things. You're never going to be able to do it 100% of the time, but if you find a place to work where you like the people, and it's an ethical, as much as possible, business, and overall, like if it's an 80-20, 80% of the time it's great, and 20% of the time sometimes it sucks, it makes it a little bit easier to take. So yeah.
I'm rolling back in. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, I always invite people to drop on by our place. It's a nice, refreshing place. And who knows? I forgot to mention that's the camera.
Yeah, I'm looking at the camera. I find it weird because I want to look everywhere but the camera.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just staring like a zombie into the camera.
I'll make that the thumbnail.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, Malika says, thanks for sharing. It's good to hear that it's okay to not know what's next. Yeah, I mean, which of us does? There's so many things that have surprised us in the last 5 or 7 years, from all the boot camp grads to the pandemic to political changes in different countries. It's harder and harder to predict. Now you have AI, and then people are firing people for AI, but now there's a bit of a backslide where companies who fired people for AI are going, whoops, we needed some humans in here. And who saw the CEO of Klarna a few days ago was like, oops, I probably should have kept some humans.
You think?
Yeah, exactly. My replacement mom would always say that. You think? And Ana Lucia reminds us, finding a good therapist is like going on dates. You try them for 1 or 2 sessions. If you don't click, you need to move on. It's not a you problem or anything. You simply need to have a rapport to be able to improve with the right therapist. So do whatever you have to do to find that person. Agree.
100%.
I've had a bunch of good therapists, and I've had a couple of stinkers who got fired somewhat early in the process, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to be right for everybody in any way. Somebody put up a tweet from the CEO of Klarna, who I think sometimes just tweets stuff when he feels like he's not being paid attention to enough, like small child screaming outside, but evidently he said, we're going to bring back some humans, and he acted like that's some sort of strategic plan he needed to create. And I'm thinking, humans should always be the default plan. If AI can augment us in some positive, helpful way, I'll consider it. Mm-hmm. But to start to replace humans with things that just really aren't there yet, they're just not there yet. And you can learn that the hard way by firing and laying off a lot of people and being written up in a lot of media, being mostly seen as a jerk, and then, try to backtrack. And, not good.
I want to say one more thing about burnout.
Please.
Something that's really helped me alleviate some of that, at least on the job, is you have to remember it's just a job. it is just a job. And all those ding dongs that drive you nuts, and it's super stressful. Unless you are working in a hospital, no one is going to die, or you're creating some sort of platform or whatever that deals
for
with,
most of our jobs.
but for most of us,
yeah,
no one is going to die as a result. Like, if you need to check out and just go through the motions and do your thing, just to keep your sanity, to keep the best part of you for after work, then do it. Do the best you can at your job. Do it to the best of your ability, but don't take it to heart. You are not your job. You are a human being with things outside of work. So try not to just take a deep breath and be like, all right, it's work. I'm doing my best, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's echoed in my Life After Tech book, which conveniently is on top of Melanie's face. See, everything gets controlled from the phone.
Aha!
Yeah, see, that's the behind the scenes. So, like, I can set off the fire from here. So, in the Life After Tech book, I talk about that as well, that we don't have to define ourselves with our work, and that a lot of us have done jobs that we weren't passionate about, but we did the best we could, and we got paid for it, and it doesn't have to satisfy your passion or your life purpose. It doesn't have to have all of that meaning. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to assign deep meaning and feel like the work we do has to change the world. I just look at it in a small way. Can I change a small world for somebody? And I'm happy with that. If I make a better like, what am I working on right now? I have a freelance project for a pharmaceutical company because people have problems filing claims and returns on bad product that came from the pharmaceutical company. If I can make that process a little bit better for the people stuck in that process, that's cool. I don't have to make the world better or fix the world's problems or live my life purpose. I can find the reward, which we also talk about in Life After Tech. I can find the reward in saying, you know what, the work I did today, especially if the company follows through on any of it, will make some part of somebody's day better for somebody. And for that, I can feel good about that. Otherwise, I did my best. Please pay me.
Mm-hmm. You got to take the small wins. Sometimes those small wins, if you can make little inroads, and if you know what your goal is, like where you want to be, sometimes you just have to take those little things add up over time,
And you just have to find a way to find something rewarding about what you're doing, because somebody out there will benefit from it. And if there's nothing rewarding about what you're doing, you can still do the work. You just have to, maybe you just decide, you know what, this won't be the most rewarding part of my day. The most rewarding part of my day will be before work and after work, when I can spend time with people I like or animals I like or whatever it might be. Completely agree. Otherwise, I would not survive my shitty clients. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky right now that some of the projects I'm working on right now aren't shitty. The people are nice. They mean well. They want to do something good. And it's just a matter of getting it organized, and hopefully the people will follow through on the recommendations. But I'll know that even if they don't follow through on all of my recommendations, and they never do, they'll follow through on some. I did my best to improve something for somebody, and for me that's rewarding, and I don't have to have changed the world or lived my life purpose. Hey, it's 8 o'clock, Italy time. That means it's time to wind down the show. I'll start pressing some buttons to get ready. I'll start the new background music for winding down the show. Melanie, any last thoughts?
Nah. It's weird to be on camera, that's it.
It's funny, with my camera filter, you look like Marcella.
Oh, do I?
Don't you think so?
No, she's way better looking than I am.
No, do not say that.
Yeah.
Not true.
This filter is awesome now.
Hashtag not sponsored. I bought the camera thinking it would be a good camera, and it came with this filter, and now I don't have to put on so much makeup to do my show.
It's great.
Winner.
Are you guys jealous that I'm here with Debbie? You should be, because this place is awesome, and I recommend it 100%. It's gorgeous out here, and the food is great.
Thank you. Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not
hold
sponsored.
on. Yeah, hold on. Not sponsored. Melanie has not been paid to promote staying at my house.
Not at all.
Right. But yes, please come to Sardinia. Just come after mid-April when Melanie will be gone.
Yeah.
She'll be staying here about 2 months.
That's right.
And she's welcome back. She's been a super guest, and she's only survived her first week so far. First week.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Much more to come when
Yes.
I have better, when my Italian is hopefully better.
Well, just practice with Pier Mario when I go to Seattle.
I will.
Okay, everybody, just a reminder that there aren't going to be any more streams for about the next week and a half because I'm going to Seattle for Convey UX and my bookstore event. I hope you'll be at least one of those, virtually or in person. And what else can I tell you? Don't forget to join our community. dcx.to will link you to all the things. Please join the Discord. It's growing and active, and I love seeing that at a time when UX communities are kind of falling apart. So come and join us whether or not you work in UX. Love that place. I hope I'll be there. Yes, Karen's been invited as well.
Karen.
Keep us posted on if you can get that visitor's visa.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to flame us out of here. Oops, the music stopped. I'm going to flame us out of here, and we'll see everybody in about a week and a half. Thanks. Thank you, Melanie. Bye.